have 1 o'clock. Sign in the middle. Call the regular meeting of the Beavercreek Township Trustees, October 24th, 2016. The order, my first order of business will be the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There's one modification that Mr. Administrator asked us to make, is the under fire, the proclamation will go under pre-scheduled visitors.
Correct.
Do we have any other modifications? Seeing none, I'll accept a motion to approve the agenda as modified.
Motion to approve the agenda as modified.
Second.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Prince?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Make a motion to approve the October 26, 2016 payroll in the amount of $280,247.04.
Second.
Mr. Prince?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Make a motion to approve the bills in the amount of $157,221.
Second.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Prince?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from the regular meeting held July 5th, 2016.
Second.
Mr. Prince?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Just a question. I had made some minor suggestions.
I got your minor suggestions,
Okay.
yes.
And I don't know exactly which ones they were.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
got them. Thank you.
Okay.
Did you say yes?
I said yes, yes.
Okay. Make a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes held September 26, 2016.
Second.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Prince?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from the special meeting held October 6, 2016.
Second.
Mr. Prince?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Make a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes held October 10th, 2016.
Second.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Prince?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes. Did I tell you to take 2 minutes? This time we're going to open up our meeting to our pre-scheduled visitors, and we have 2, and these are the 2 members of our Beavercreek Township Fire Department that were part of Ohio Task Force 1 deployment to, is it Georgia? North Carolina. South.
Did you actually make it to Florida and then redivert, or did you get diverted halfway?
You explain that.
Yeah.
Go along. We kind of, well, first off, I'd like to thank you guys for the time today to go over this little slideshow and
Make sure you introduce yourselves first so
show
we
you
have that
what
already.
we did. I'm Doug Ransdale.
I'm
the
Brian Hedrick.
team members. And again, like I said, thank you for this time to show you what we got to experience. I'd also like to thank Chief Vandenboss for the continued support for the Ohio Task Force 1 members, all the members. So with that, we put together a small slideshow, kind of did a timeline, kind of put together a timeline to go through what we got to go through starting on October 6th. Brian and I were actually at a 24-hour blitz training with the task force that day. It started at noon on the 6th. It was going to end at noon on the 7th. And approximately 3, 4, 5 hours into the training, we realized that there was a good possibility we were going to get deployed to the south for Hurricane Matthew. This is what we actually received on our phones. We stopped during training. They told us to check our phones, check our emails, pre-roster, get all the prior authorization that we were allowed to get, that we had to get to be able to deploy. So I personally left Thursday morning to go to the training and told my wife I might not be back for up to 14 days. And that was one of the things that the family gets to enjoy.
So with this, this is at our warehouse in Kettering. It's the old Desi plant that also shares with Kettering Ports. Inside the facility, we have all of our equipment besides for our training cache, which is at the Dayton Training Center. But this is just, the picture on the left shows not all of everybody's equipment, because there was 85 people total that went, but just the bulk of the equipment. And then outside is a line of all of our vehicles. So we have 3 semi-trucks, a bus, 2 box trucks, 4 pickup trucks. We rented a couple vans, and then a Command Tahoe. The picture on the bottom was from Gabrielle Enright. She was embedded with us during our whole deployment. And it's hard to tell because we had trouble blowing up the picture with how it was formatted, but in the back is actually me and Doug standing there. We've been on the team for 3 years total, and we've yet to do any training together. They've always separated us, and the 24-hour training, we actually got put on the same squad, and then conveniently, we ended up on the same squad for the deployment, so we were stuck together the whole time. There's not a lot of pictures that have me and Doug in them because we were on the night squad, and then with water, we didn't carry our phones with us to take pictures because we lose our phones. That'd be bad. So there's only a couple pictures of us that our downtime was supposed to be 0800, and we ran well past that till noon or 1 p.m. most of the time when we were out working.
So from the time that we were, if you wanted to call it activated, dispatched, that we left the warehouse at approximately midnight on Thursday night, Friday morning. We had Ohio State Patrol, and when we crossed over into each state, Kentucky, Tennessee, I think that's Georgia there, we had escorts up until we stopped, and then got re-diverted. We made it to about an hour north of Florida, and we stopped for fuel, and then the plans guys ended up finding out that we were being re-diverted back up into the northern part of Georgia, and that's when it started for us. So basically, we stopped in southern Georgia and then followed the hurricane back up into the Carolinas, where we were actually got to go do some more. And these are just a couple pictures of a couple of the pit stops. It shows the boats. It shows Channel 7. This is the first morning, Friday morning stop that we had. We had one stop about 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and then we had this one. This was about 8 o'clock. The plans guys had a unit go ahead of us, and they had at each stop, they had us food, carry bags, sandwich, hash browns, coffee, what have you. You could go in, get your own stuff if you wanted to, but they took care of us when it comes to lunches and dinners. That really didn't format there, did it? Okay, so this is, we got to our first stop. I'm sorry, I jumped in front of you. We got to our first stop. It was a Pilot gas station, and our plans guys, they feverishly tried to find us somewhere to stay that night. They had no idea we were staying overnight. We had 14, 15 vehicle convoy, 85, 86 guys. This is a Southern Baptist church in Tifton, Georgia, and the pastor found out that we were kind of stranded. We were calling around and all that, and he said, "You guys come on down." Within an hour and a half to 2 hours, we showed up in the parking lot. They had us dinner already set, planned, and everything. And this rainbow was kind of a...
When we pulled in, that rainbow was there.
It was there.
It was pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
So it was either we stay there, which was awesome, they opened it up for us, or we were gonna set up our tents and stay in the parking lot.
Yeah.
So this was,
This was a night shot of the night we got there. This was a sign, I don't know if you can read it, but this is a sign to, so the church is actually a refuge for homeless people, people that were affected by the hurricane in their surrounding areas. And they actually closed their refuge down because they housed us, and this is a sign stating that they wanted to take care of the people from Ohio that were doing that. And so that's kind of a picture of their, what's the word for it? I can't think of the word.
They're pretty well set up to begin with.
Yeah.
yeah. So they ended up having, originally setting up as a evacuation center, and they only had a couple families show up. So they had all these cots there. They didn't really have any of the food ready, but once we got there, they had a tremendous amount of volunteers sign up to help us out. So they ended up feeding us dinner, breakfast, and lunch on Saturday before we left. And this was the setup we came into. So I mean, this is cots lined up, and there was probably 300 cots because they didn't know what to expect in terms of evacuations. But they opened up their arms and let us stay there, and everybody thought it was tremendous for them to do. And then Saturday morning, we broke down all the cots for them and reset up their church for them before we left, because they were actually going to have a service that day. And then this is Saturday night. We got into Fayetteville, North Carolina. That's where originally we were supposed to go to Savannah, Georgia. They rerouted us up and were originally telling us we were going to stay at Charlotte International Speedway. But there was a race going to be happening on Sunday, so the Speedway didn't want us to stay there. So we ended up getting diverted to Fayetteville because of all the flooding down there. There was 10 task forces in total throughout the country that were deployed to this region. And then Florida had their 2 task forces as state resources, so they weren't as federal, they were at state, so it ended up being 12 teams total throughout the whole area. And this was early Sunday morning. We got the first boats in the water. The water program is new for the task force. My understanding, it's been like a 10-year process to get a water program displayed across all the teams. But this was a pretty big undertaking for all the teams, and this was our squad were the first boats in the water. And the picture on the right is a fire station, volunteer fire station. They were out.
They were actually on this call. The fire truck that's on this call, the guys that are kind of telling us what they need, that's their fire station underwater. They had left earlier
They lost
that
their
evening.
station and were still out helping us.
Yeah.
Show us around because we had no clue where we were going down there. And the picture on the left, it's kind of hard to tell because of the glare, but there are houses on the left side of that picture, and the water is up to the trusses of the house. In that little neighborhood, I think there was 5 rescues just in this plat. One of them, the individual weighed approximately 350 pounds, and the guys had to
Float her out of the window.
cut through the window.
Just a question.
Yeah.
And I see you all sloshing through the water there. I assume you weren't in your boots. But as I understood, in so many of the flooding areas, you have wildlife in the water, particularly snakes and stuff.
Yeah.
Which doesn't thrill me at all, particularly when they're poisonous. Did you encounter any of that kind of issues in this flooding situation?
Yeah, we had
There was
snakes going
There was a
across
couple
in front of
times.
us.
Yeah, there were a couple times where we jumped out of the truck to offload the boats, and you would see snakes running through. There's a picture after a couple of these slides where we're looking down kind of this same way, and I kind of got a picture of a snake going through, but I mean it's not really detailed. But yes, we did. We ran into snakes, varmints, dogs, cats, people on semis. This gentleman here, this was a day squad crew. Approximately a half an hour to an hour after we got done, these guys were in the boat scanning these little plats. We had maps made up, and we were clearing certain areas. He encounters this guy sitting on his trailer there, and they asked him how long he'd been there, and he said, well, probably 20 minutes. So he
Tried to drive through the
tried to
water.
drive through, knowing that the water was too deep.
We encountered that a lot. Actually, going into North Carolina, I-95 was closed because of flooding and trees being down.
Yeah.
So we had to reroute, which took longer to get to where we were going to get because of all the flooding. And then the town that made national news because of all the rescues, was Lumberton, North Carolina. It was about 30 minutes south of where we were in Fayetteville, but it took us about an hour and a half to get there because of reroute through roads because of the flooding. And the dark blue on the map on the left is everything that was underwater in the part of the town we were working through. And if you look on the picture on the right, that street is this road right here. So we were staged up here, we set our base up here, and we were unloading our boats right here, and that's what we first saw when we came into town.
And these are pretty much the same pictures from our staging area where we dropped the boats. We were trying to get individuals brought up to us, and then we would take them up over the railroad tracks.
How many boats did you have?
Ohio has 4.
Yeah, Ohio has 4, New Jersey had 5, New York had, I think New York had 4 also. We had a lot of boats. One of the things that I thought was remarkable was we showed up and there was a guy, civilian, that lived a few blocks over or something like that, but he was in a canoe and he was out saving people in his canoe. So eventually, we had Force Patrol, U.S. Marshals with us. They eventually cleared him and gave him a life vest and told him to go at it. So I thought that was remarkable. A civilian didn't even know anybody.
The picture on the left, U.S. Marshal took, and if you look down the road, there's a SUV that's stuck in the water, and he got a picture of Doug and myself pushing this car out of the way. There was 4 or 5 people in it. They were following another vehicle out, and the vehicle slowed down, so they slowed down, and it was enough that it stalled out their car. So that's about a block and a half away, and he took it because of the Black Hawk that was above us about 30 feet, and it ended up having us in it too. So we thought that was pretty cool.
Just the various pictures, same staging area with our truck and a couple of our boats. And then we had it was an 8-hour drive. No, I think our drive home from where we were in Lumberton, North Carolina, should have been about a 4-hour drive. 4 to 5 hour drive, I think, ended up taking us almost 12 hours, just with the convoy. So we made some phone calls on the other side, right when we got into Ohio, made a couple phone calls, asked if some of the people in Beavercreek would give us a little welcome home, and this is what we came up to on Orchard Lane coming up 35. And that's the view we got to see coming down 35 on the right there. This was our squad, our water squad, 12 people between 4 boats. We had hazmat, we had search, the big guy in the back, he's a search expert. We had IT, rescue specialist. What else did we have? Rescue, hazmat. I think we had medics, the guy there on the right, he was a med spec. So we had a good little array in our squad, and then there's the whole team. That's at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. We were on the airstrip. We got a picture of everybody,
So Doug and myself, in order to be in the boats for the task force, we have to be water rescue technicians, and we're water rescue op certified. So that is something that we're both looking forward to going out to Indiana to take a course there, become water techs.
especially after this
Yeah.
deployment.
And it would help the department out when we bring that knowledge back too for our water program here. But him and I were in waders every day we were out at night. That's what we were in. So we were in waders here, and we'd start in water that's ankle deep, and we'd end up in water about this high. In Lumberton, we were gauging it off of
Fire
hydrant. How quick the water rose.
We started and it was underneath the steamer. It was probably 6 inches under the steamer cap, and by the time we got relieved from day squad, it was over the knob. So, and then we were well inland, And so it took us a little while to even figure out where the water was coming from. Was it dams breaking? Was it overflow of the hurricane? And some of the structural guys that we had with us said that it was just the amount of rain and the ponds and the one dam, I think is what he said. So. But that's all we have. Thank you very much. Again, I'd like to express as much appreciation as I can for the continued support, not only from the board, but also from the fire chief, because if it wasn't for the support of this, me personally and Brian also, we would not be able to experience that. And that is one of the highlights of my career at this point. And I wouldn't have been able to go through that without Beavercreek. So, thank you.
Well, we appreciate you guys being part of it, absolutely.
Have you been deployed in Ohio at all?
We are both on our regional team too. So the 8 or 9 counties surrounding us have a regional team for structural collapse, urban search and rescue, trench, and we've gone out within the last 2 years on 2 trench calls, semi into a house, and a couple lost person searches. So within just our region, we've been deployed, but as a state asset for the task force, no. We were somewhat on standby for the Republican National Convention, but Region 2 up there handled that. They didn't need us, so.
The other thing is, you said you were already at training, you never did get home.
No.
What do you keep with you that you have?
Yeah,
your
that was my
equipment,
question.
And then for the
All
2
of
weeks
our-
that you might have been gone?
We have all of our equipment that's issued from the task force, and they call it a, well, correct me if I'm wrong. We have a 72-hour pack, so we can go out the door with 72 hours worth of equipment, clothing, underwear, hygiene things, different things to be able to keep us from having to go anywhere else for 3 days. Then in our semi, our box trucks, we have all of our other equipment in a red duffel bag that we store in there, but they tell us not to, they emphasize to us not to expect to get that. So we've been issued all of our equipment. We have 5 to 6 pairs of BDUs. We have cold weather gear. We have helmets. We have 2 pair of rescue boots. So essentially, we have all the equipment we need to run for 3 days straight, and then if we were to go longer than that, they would get us the equipment we need. Personal belongings. Does that answer your question, good enough?
Yes. Yes. Wouldn't want you to be stuck out there, all of a sudden you go and, okay.
Yeah.
So there wasn't anything you had to take with you when you went to training, it's already there.
Well, it's here.
Yeah, we keep our stuff here.
stuff here. And then,
It was strongly advised to bring all that stuff with us just in case we got deployed while at training.
and so even at the training, the 24-hour training, we take all of our stuff to that type of training, because that's 24 hours of continuous work. We operate as a half-day squad and then an all-night squad. So it would be continuous 24-hour training, so that's what we were expecting to go through.
So how are the logistics of this thing organized? Is it directed through FEMA?
Yeah.
Okay, and then, so then do they divide the country into regions and say everybody from this region goes here, and if we have
Exactly.
something happen simultaneous on the west coast, there's another group that would go there?
So we had, from what I understood, our deployment was, I don't remember quite, we were in a certain chance of being deployed within the first 48 hours or the second 48 hours, and then we moved into a different bracket if it was before or after that. I didn't quite understand exactly.
So we were first up in October if there was any deployments. And FEMA has it set up through logistics that if it's 24 hours before an event or 24 hours after an event, they would pick the closest team. Well, they ended up picking the closest teams, which was Virginia has 2 task forces. And then from that, they realized they needed more teams. Because the first couple of days, we were doing 911 calls for the local departments. Their boats had issues, they didn't have enough resources. But they ended up pulling, there's 10 teams in the Eastern Division, and they pulled almost everybody for that, and pulled 2 more out of the Central Division. So it's broken up into 3 divisions, West, Central, and East. And the logistic guys and planning guys, they do a tremendous amount of behind the scenes
They work their butt off
Yeah.
on the first
Keep in the
48
right
hours of
place
this
at the right
incident.
time, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Not only just preparing for what FEMA was telling them, but to get our guys out the door and then also to control a 14 vehicle convoy. That in itself is extremely hard.
Chief, do you have anything you want to add?
No, I just thank the board for your continued support. As I noted in the packet for the board, was several years ago, we formalized the fire department's participation on the teams. The board authorized 6 positions for the USAR team. I believe it was 8 for the Region 3 team and 3 for hazmat. And without the board's support, this would not happen. So that was one of the things we wanted to do, is make sure that the board was in agreement with the fire department on the level of participation that we could expect, the level of support we could expect, so these guys could have the ability to get on the team and look at the long-term picture, especially for training. We heard some of the trainings that they described. It takes a while for them to get all of the certifications to become fully vested in what they're doing. And so we hate to have people that either aren't able to complete them or get them completed and then never have a chance to utilize them, because these are very rare events in the scheme of things. So, thank you to the board for the opportunity for them to participate. We appreciate that. And thank you guys for taking the time out to do it. So.
I think Mr. Roberts has something.
Yeah, with that being said, it's really my honor to read the following proclamation recognizing firefighter Brian Hedrick and firefighter Doug Ransdell for their contributions during Ohio Task Force 1's deployment as a result of Hurricane Matthew from October 6th to October 12th, 2016. Whereas firefighter Brian Hedrick and firefighter Doug Ransdell are Beavercreek Township Fire Department members of the Federal Emergency Management Agency's Urban Search and Rescue Team, also known as Ohio Task Force 1. And whereas firefighter Hedrick and firefighter Ransdell were deployed as part of Ohio Task Force 1's response to the aftermath of Hurricane Matthew's landfall on the east coast of the United States. And whereas Ohio Task Force 1 searched 39 structures and rescued or assisted over 350 people and 46 animals during the 48 hours of continuous operations. And whereas firefighter Hedrick and firefighter Ransdell were part of the initial response into Lumberton, North Carolina at 0300 hours on October 10, 2016 to rescue citizens who were cut off from help and at risk of drowning due to the lack of local rescue resources. And whereas according to their rescue team manager, they performed beyond expectations with coolness and even valor in a highly dynamic environment without any real command presence or structure from the locals. And whereas their professionalism, combined with all of Ohio Task Force 1's system personnel, has earned them significant recognition and appreciation by the state of North Carolina. And whereas Ohio Task Force 1's program manager stated that their performance was in the highest of standards and expectations of Ohio Task Force 1, and their skills and abilities exemplify the character and capability of all of Ohio Task Force 1.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Now, therefore be it resolved that the Board of Beavercreek Township Trustees, Greene County, Ohio, do hereby recognize the professionalism, commitment, and contribution of firefighter Brian Hedrick and firefighter Doug Ransdell during their participation in the deployment of Ohio Task Force 1 to Hurricane Matthew. And further be it resolved that the Board of Beavercreek Township Trustees appreciate and commend firefighter Hedrick and firefighter Ransdell's hard work and professional representation of Beavercreek Township on a national response.
This
Thank
is
you, gentlemen.
an overall separate proclamation, exactly same wording to each one of you. And I know that, so we're waiting for the signatures. But we need one more signature.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Do you want me to send it to you? Do you want to take it? I'll send it to you.
And I hope we don't need them here.
Yes,
We're happy to have them available, insurance, whomever it is that's needed it. And we don't need the insurance.
Alex,
Turn the light back.
if the other trustees are in agreement, if we could maybe draft a letter in appreciation to that church that took them in.
Yes,
Well,
please.
you can just thank them on behalf of the township.
And if you'd like, we can probably get some information about that church also.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, address would be great.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
We don't have any citizens of in the audience who want to speak. I don't see any. We don't have any old business. We have none new business. Mrs. Harriet's turn.
Was that in the, was the slideshow in the,
No.
can I get a copy of that? I'll print it and I'll keep it, and if somebody else asks for it, it's fine. Thanks.
Thank you, Board. First item was on page 3 is the permissive motor vehicle license tax. I put in there the public notice that went out, was also put in the paper as well. I provided a fact sheet that I would like to post on social media, as well as a copy of the proposed resolution on page 7. If there are no changes or suggestions, I'll go ahead and post those on social media. First public hearing on the permissive motor vehicle license tax will be held on November 7th at 7
Right, you
p.m.
said that. I have a question.
Yes.
It said the owners of which reside in the unincorporated area. I was under the impression that if any vehicles that are registered in the area,
And
they
it's-
have to live there? What
Yes,
if a firm registers a vehicle?
it depends where it's registered at.
Well, let's
So,
say
if-
Phillips Sand and Gravel.
If it's
not a
registered in
vehicle.
the township, then yes, but if it's not registered in the township under another corporate name and another
Right, but
location.
that's what concerned me, the owners of the vehicle.
This is state language right out of
Okay,
the.
that includes any corporate owners as well as,
Anything registered in the township.
Anything registered in the township.
Yeah, anything registered in the
okay,
township.
I was just making sure that was. I have no problem with you putting it on the social media, anyone else?
All right, thank you, Board. I'll
Are you going to
post-
be putting the information on the frequently asked
Yes,
questions?
yes, I was gonna post, the public notice is already posted, but I was gonna post the frequently asked questions, as well as the proposed resolution, that the board would consider in December.
Can you tell me if all the other jurisdictions in Greene County, or most of the jurisdictions, do already have this fourth, this last piece that we're allowed?
All but 2, Beavercreek Township, and I cannot recall the other
I
township.
thought there were a couple of townships
Yeah.
though in Greene County, there were 4, I looked at it last night. Like,
There's only a couple of townships.
Silver Creek, yeah, there were actually, I was surprised at the number of townships that are only collecting $15
Right.
like we are.
Yeah, they probably don't know that. I haven't looked at it. I'm just curious because I've been asked, and it's only for those individuals who are in the unincorporated area.
That's correct.
Who
And that was
live
a-
or are registered in that area.
That was also a question by City Council at our joint meeting when we discussed the
Yes.
US 35 project.
I emphasized that at the Republican Women's meeting for us too.
The resolution we will pass will be after the public hearings.
That's right.
And
You'll
if
hold-
everything is positive, then we will, that's the resolution that will be passed if we don't get
Yeah, this would be the, and it may change based on any input that you, from the community, and, then we can adjust some of the wording. Well, most of this is just straight out of what the state of Ohio suggested we should have in the resolution.
We suicide everything.
Thank you, Board. Next item starts on page 9 of your packet is the Sheriff's Office bi-weekly report. I did speak to Major Bowman today. He had nothing to report. Just to let everybody know that Beggars Night is on October 31st. It is posted on our website. In the unincorporated area, the sheriff himself will be out, as well as our deputy through the substation, and we'll have a couple specials. Handing out candy in the neighborhood.
The 6 to 8,
Yes, 6 to 8.
okay, it's a Monday night.
Yes. Are there any questions for the biweekly report? Thank you, Board. Next item is on page 17, is the HR Department's biweekly report. Ms. Gustafson is still working on the information that was asked at the last meeting in regards to protecting our first responders and under our life insurance in a terrorist event.
It's deemed a terrorist.
Yeah, if it's deemed a terrorist event, that's right.
Is the integration and migration, health insurance, any hiccups, any problems that we've had? Everything moving along?
And then the new insurance, everything, we're gonna lock on that for a year, right?
Yes, our plan will be up in June of next year.
Even
So-
though all the new stuff for the following years is starting to come out now,
Yeah,
we're not subject to that.
No, we're not subject to any changes. The agreement is till June 30th, so our new plan would start July 1st. So about late April, May timeframe, we'll get our census data from MMO, get that from our broker, and then our broker would then go out and solicit like we did last time from
So I'm
other.
starting to see some stuff trickle in on my side and, and it's drastic changes to it. So
Yeah.
that's good that we're locked in. Good job, HR.
Any other questions?
She went to the township, or the Xenia Township meeting, is that now done?
Yeah, the Board of Township Trustees and Xenia did approve the fact-finding report. They did present it to the trustees. All they're working on is the final document for the trustees to sign. It was approved 3-0.
Good.
Thanks.
Well, the reimbursement should be in before the end of the year.
Yeah, Xenia Township asked to wait till the project was done to put the final bill in. Or invoice to the
But I
township.
think we'd like to clean it up financially this year if we could, and just,
Yes. Thank you, Board. Next item is on page 19, is the zoning department's biweekly report. Are there any questions?
do they have 3 sign permits? Is it regular signs or political signs?
The regular signs.
Thank you, Board.
See that even though, well, we do, I'm just gonna emphasize, we changed the permit fees in there. Last year, we had 96 single-family dwellings and a total of 304 permits that we did, at $29,380 was brought in. This year, we've had only 83 so far, family dwellings, 364 permits, so there were extra kinds of permits out there. And we brought in almost 36,000, so that we can see the impact of the increased fees.
Right. And the part of the tallying of the financial impact of the fees that doesn't show up on the permit report, it has to do with how many variances and conditional uses and rezonings get applied for. And we've had a bumper crop of those during the year this year. I haven't yet tallied them all up, but we just heard 3 variance requests last Wednesday, and there's $900 right there that won't appear on this permit tally sheet.
When you get a chance to look, where are we at, legal fee wise relative to zoning?
Ms. Schultz has consulted with me about the status of the budget, and that wasn't one of our areas of concern for this year. We don't expect to exceed that budgeted amount.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board. Next item is on page 23 is the IT Department biweekly report. Are there any questions?
I have none. Thank you.
Thank you, Board. Next item is Road Department. First item is what we presented a couple weeks ago. It was mailed to you as the Township Road Report. Of course, is here to answer any questions. I do have the form for you to sign.
I'll make a motion to approve the annual report of Township Roads for 2016 as presented.
Second.
Just read the total number of miles and stuff. I think that's an important number for us.
Grand total of miles, 42.110 miles.
Sorry, Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Ms. Grant?
Yes.
Thank you, Board. Next item is on page 26, is the maintenance agreement for the Historical Society. Any questions? If not, there is a motion on page 26.
Any questions?
I have none.
Carol?
No.
With that, I'll make a motion to approve the maintenance agreement with the Historical Society for the use of 1981 Dayton Xenia Road as presented, and authorize the township administrator to sign for the board.
Second.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Ms. Grant?
Yes.
Thank you. On page 48 is the biweekly report. One item to note in the biweekly reports, Mr. Parks, is some of the pictures of the ER access that actually is included in the packet starting on page 48.
And as discussed, lot fill.
Oh, yes. At the lower end, that backs up to the new section, we moved down approximately 6 inches before we put the gravel. And from there, it went up, before we made that transition. We never found any of, at the top, and we were down about 24 inches.
Wow.
But actually, the way it sits today, there is 10 inches of gravel all the way up through there, 10 plus. So we got to the transition, it's more like, 20. And then 4 inches of topsoil on top of that. And over the weekend, Kyle put his fence back up
Okay.
on the edge of the emergency access, so it's out of the easement. It's been sodded, that project is behind us.
I think that's the logical thing to do. Yep.
And that satisfies our department for the access, emergency access. So that-
Yes, ma'am.
And we drove it, right? I'm assuming we put it in and drove it?
I can tell you that
10 to 20 inches.
Phillips truck drove it.
Drove it, okay.
Proof rolled it.
They did proof roll it, and, if it didn't sink, I did our trucks away.
Yes.
Good, good.
Thank you.
And then is, the developer still gotta, like, put the trees back, or?
The trees were moved the day before. We actually went in and removed all the posts from Mr. Powell. And actually replaced 2 posts. They were in there good. And we kind of went over and above and let him borrow some snow fence to keep his dog in the yard during the duration of this project, so. He wasn't happy, but it's the best outcome for everybody at this point, so.
Good, appreciate you going the extra mile.
Yes.
I have nothing
Okay. That's good.
No, everything else was okay.
One thing to note, under the road report, or the annual road report we did, that was everything that was documented up until last Thursday. Of course, Friday, we had a phone call from Woodridge. We spent most of the day out there with them today, going over some final stuff that needs to be done. I would say by the end of this month, we'll take on a mile, 1.11 miles in that subdivision. And we're this close to taking on Bexley Hills 3A.
I'm surprised he put the cap, I'm surprised that he put the second layer on already based on the amount of construction that's yet to go over those roads.
I think it was supposed to be down for a year.
Yeah.
Last year was December 1st we put it down. We got with the county inspector. Laying asphalt that late in the year, not good.
Yeah,
So this was probably our best outcome to let him go a couple months early.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you, board. Next item, we are on page 53, we move to the beginning of the meeting, so that leaves on page 54, the fire department's bi-weekly report. Are there any questions?
I had a question, the fire simulator, the trainer. I popped in, I was able to sit through one of the classes, it was amazing, and kudos to Lieutenant Williams, Ryan.
Yes, sir.
Fabulous job. I'm always amazed, he's always performing at a high level. And didn't get a chance because of my schedule to go through the simulator, but they were gonna put me through it, and I was excited about that. But my question is, because I'm thinking of good neighbor and, you know, sharing of resources, do we have a fee for that?
There is no fee for the use of it. Xenia City, when they got it on a regional grant from the Assistance to Firefighters Grant Program. And part of the regional grant was that it was gonna be a resource available to neighboring agencies. So we don't have an upfront fee, but what we do is make sure that we replenish the supplies that we use. And generally, that's the smoke for the smoke generator.
Correct, is that a 5 gallon bucket over something?
Yes.
So a lot of it's good faith and neighbor, okay, so what's the cost of that?
To purchase one?
Say it melted while we had it.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's, it could take some heat. The only time it was damaged, one of the sensors were burned up because one of the sensors got too hot during one of the evolutions, and I think that was when Xenia was operating a class at Xenia for somebody else. The city covered that cost, city Xenia covered that cost. So the only thing they ask is that we replace the synthetic smoke fog machine every year, and then they supply the instructors for their liability purposes because it is a city of Xenia.
So they're kind of in control of it.
Yes. So
And the reason I'm going with that, because I'm still in the back of my mind, we have the other, what is it, the mark thing, you know, and, you know, being good neighbors, but then also being fiscally responsible. But if they're bringing their own people in to make sure they run it, then, okay.
They send two instructors, and City of Xenia covers their overtime cost to be over here as supervisor.
And
They
they
actually-
transport it also.
Yeah, they transport it also, so City of Xenia's Public Works Department actually picked it up in Spring Valley and brought it to Beavercreek Township.
It was a
So we
great
could really
asset.
thank Xenia for supplying us with that resource at no cost, essentially no cost.
No
Yeah,
cost.
it's, as the chief has indicated in the past, getting structures to actually do evolutions in are easy, but to burn, there are so many regulations that we have to go through. and sometimes have to put so much money into the building with asbestos abatement, shingles, and so on, that just becomes cost prohibitive for us. So this gives us an opportunity to use in a controlled environment, propane-fed fires. The other advantage is the scenarios can be changed every time. The walls within the trailer can be moved around.
That's all the partitions can
Yeah.
move around.
Yeah. So it's a different scenario each time. So I know they can really get it, put a good fire in there to show fire behavior, so the guys can witness fire behavior from the outside without going in. So.
They actually even had a flame over. But that was it, I just had a question about that.
Okay, and thank you for coming.
Training
out
was
to see us.
awesome.
Also, the performance at the open house was excellent.
Well, thank you. The
Scenarios were all good.
Yeah, the props were, I believe, borrowed from Washington Township,
Yes.
but we're probably gonna build something similar for ourselves, seeing how successful it was. So, yeah, it's a great eye-opener for folks who have not experienced it before. And I was even surprised with the amount of fire they were able to generate in a small prop like that. It was very instructive.
Following up on that, I was listening to Randy Grogan when he was talking about prior to the burn and the smoke alarms. And I went and I checked my own, although they told me I should get someone to climb on the ladder. But I went and climbed on my ladder and realized that my smoke alarms, more than 10 years old. And when I spoke to Randy, he said that he did have these brochures that they have put together to talk about the smoke alarm guide and the kind of smoke alarms available and what you should do and where you should place them. And he was gracious enough to make sure that we had them today for our meetings. And now I know what I should go out and purchase and then decide if I can climb up and do them or find someone to climb up for me.
I would guess that
I'm
if
pretty
there's
good
a
at
house in
climbing up on
Beavercreek
those
that's older
ladders.
than 10 years old, that there's smoke detectors older than 10 years old.
Yes, it was, May 2013 was the expiration date on it, when I pulled it down to.
Was it a hardwired or was it? just-
No, it was this,
Well, see, that's the
My
other thing,
house
they even
is
say even the
so old.
hardwired ones you're supposed to replace.
That's my question too, I think mine are hardwired. so
Yeah, no,
maybe
even the hardwires after,
The sensors themselves go bad at some point,
Mhm.
so, yeah, at 10 years they should be switched. If they're hardwired, whether they have a battery or not, determines whether you need to replace the battery. Obviously, if there's no battery, you don't replace it. But the sensor itself is only good for about 10 years.
and he did say the new ones have 10-year batteries, so you don't, they're self-contained units, so you don't have to replace the batteries every 6 months, which I'm not sure I've done.
And that's amazing.
We've
too,
seen
'cause
many
the-
houses where the battery has gone bad and people have pulled it out and then never replaced it.
And he said to test them every month.
Keep it from beeping.
Okay, so as an informational question for other people, but mostly me, so if I took a picture of my fire smoke alarm and went to Lowe's, went to whatever, what do you suggest? Is that the best way to go about it? If it's somebody who, I don't know anything about smoke detectors?
If you're replacing like for like, I would get on the internet and search for whatever make model you have, especially if they're hardwired and you want to just replace one or two in a series. If you're replacing all of them, then I just go off the guide there, and I believe the biggest thing is you're looking for a UL listed detector. Beyond that, there's some pros and cons that may talk about specific sensor types, but they're even getting away from a lot of those differences. So yeah, if you're replacing all of them, I would just get however many you need of the same make model. If you were trying to replace one or two, I'd Google that specific thing and look for it. And if they're all hardwired in, you may not find them at Lowe's or Home Depot, Menards, any of those stores without a special order. So Google may be your best bet on that.
Thank you.
You all told me also that if we needed any assistance, if we, the residents of the city and township of Beavercreek, need assistance in checking our smoke alarms, we should call the department and they would have someone come out.
Yes, ma'am. We will
So
come out.
anyone who would like assistance can call and make an appointment, they will come and do it. I just didn't wait for it, so.
And one of the best things that they hand out at the open houses are their basically 3 or 4 foot dowels with a little rubber tip on them, and they're specifically for testing without getting on a ladder.
Erasers only.
Yes. So,
I don't know where
if you
mine
want,
is.
you can do it yourself at home if you like, but that's the best
That's
way.
to test them, to
Yes,
see if they
ma'am.
go.
Right.
And I would assume that would bode also for, you know, like burglar alarm systems that have smoke and fire sensors.
Yeah,
That's
if
a
you have-
different animal
If you have
altogether.
an alarm system that's proprietary, then you need to talk to whoever the alarm provider is to make sure that it's compliant with that system, because you're gonna want it to continue to ring in.
Right.
For folks who have just standalone detectors or detectors that are hardwired together but are not tied into a system or not part of a system, then again, it's, if you're trying to replace one in a series, you treat it a little different than if you're replacing all of them. And obviously, if they're standalone, that's the easiest, you just go buy anything you need to replace it. Seems like it'd be a simple thing, but yeah, it can get complex very quickly because
This
of all the
might be
different options.
another good thing for the in-touch.
Yeah.
Get that to
Somebody
the
that
people.
provided.
Well, and another thing too is since, you know, a lot of folks don't realize that since 2000, the code changed and now they're required in all bedrooms and not just in the moving areas. You know, a lot of folks probably don't even realize they should probably put an extra one in their bedroom.
Yeah, and that's the difference between required for new construction and then obviously once you have it as your home, what you're able to do or not do as a homeowner, but.
Yeah,
best
well,
practices
if you have
inside and
anything, if you have
outside
anything that
those
requires a
systems.
building permit, I think they're gonna require it now. You know, have a building,
Is that assuming you have people in the bedrooms, or if you don't have people in the bedrooms?
doesn't matter.
I believe a bedroom is a bedroom as far as the code is concerned, regardless of how you choose to use it.
They would call it an office.
Good stuff.
I have
think
2
tax-
offices, a storage room,
tax
and 1
purposes are
bedroom.
Very different.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else have any questions on that? But they did an excellent job at the open house. I think it was well received. I certainly always enjoy the fact that we are working closely with the city when they do the try-a-truck, so we have people going from one to the other. And the goodwill that comes out of these events is just tremendous. And I think it's a very positive activity for our community and our citizens, so thank you.
You're welcome, thank you.
And the chili cook-off is really good too.
How was the Explorer kickoff?
We had great turnout from the adult supervisors, so that's all taken care of. We have our initial training to cover the Boy Scout side of things. I believe it's this Thursday or next Thursday.
No, that's Thursday.
Coming up. And then next week is our first meeting. We only had 2 students show up, but in talking to the Boy Scouts, they said for these types of Explorer posts, that's not uncommon. You get a few kids in, and then they'll gradually build up some enthusiasm amongst their friends and peer groups. So we're going to continue to advertise it. We are going to start with the 2 of them. We'll just get lots of specialized attention during this time period. And the Boy Scouts, they said we can't be officially chartered, but they will, as long as they have the application from the students, which they do. They got those that Saturday. They will be covered under all of the liability insurance and other things that the Boy Scouts provide, so there's no issues there. And then what we'll do is we'll build up, and once we have sufficient kids, we will then go ahead and get our charter and continue on. So we're pretty excited
And
about
the
it.
age group that you're trying to attract?
15 to 20, basically.
Firefighter Trick, who was assigned to Beavercreek, I believe, is working with Carroll High School and Beavercreek High School to set something up during the lunch. And we ironically have a kid from each of the schools, one from Carroll, one from Beavercreek, that has signed up. And they're gonna work with Firefighter Trick to talk about the program.
What about the Career Center?
Career Center as well. We sent the information sheet to the Career Center. The committee, I guess, agreed to send it out to all the schools in Greene County, high schools in Greene County. And Firefighter Trick did mention he is gonna try to get up to the Career Center for that as well.
And then, you know, just, I always like the community outreach stuff, the events, I love it, and you guys were busy.
Yeah, this
The last
is
2
our
weeks.
biggest couple weeks of the year with.
It's awesome,
convention week.
good
So,
job.
thank you.
When is it you're having the health fair at Senior Center? I read something, I think, when
You know what? I forgot to get the date for that. I'm not sure off the top of my head, but I will find it and send it to you. I believe it's posted on social media also.
I know it's somewhere, and I know I wrote it
Yeah,
down.
I believe they're advertising it there at the senior center, I just
Yes.
don't know where it is. Yeah.
I guess they target the seniors for that, but it's open to anyone
Yes.
who would like to know.
Mhm. It is a public event, but obviously the main constituency there is the seniors.
Did you have many responses, calls for the Quantic Classic?
I think we made 2 transports, but I'll double check that. It was not a significant number. And again, a lot of kids will come through the med stations, but the ones that actually require transport is relatively few. I thought I heard 2, but I'm not, I'll have to double check that for you.
And then I went and volunteered to do trophies. And as I previously said, I've had to work at those events for 20+ years and begrudgingly done so every year. But last year I did trophies and this year I did trophies. The most fun I've ever had at an event with the kids. And they are very, very appreciative of us being there. So,
We'll continue to do that with the board support, and now that we've got that worked out, I think it's, everybody's happy with the situation.
oh yeah, nothing but good things to say all winter.
It just worked out, it was the same time as the open house and all the other stuff. in the
Yeah,
park.
it seems like it hits every couple of years like that.
Yeah, I think the schedule worked out where a lot of the teams were showing up at the Triad Truck as well as the open house. So there was I
Right.
think this year there was a lot more kids in soccer uniforms than I've seen in previous years. So
And the parking was.
I was delayed on my way to the open house because I had to stop for a crash that was between my house and the open house. So
Oh,
kept us busy all the way around.
there we go. Yeah. Thank you, I think we've performed well the past couple of weeks. You have any? Okay.
Thank you, Board.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you.
Thank you, Board. That's all I have.
Legal advisor?
Nothing.
Okay. Trustees?
I asked my 2 questions.
Okay.
I had mentioned this to Alex and actually Jeff Brock last week and mentioned it to him and bring it up to the chief as well. I'd like to put together with the board's approval a committee just to explore bringing a program to Greene County. I was made aware through my son who attends University of Pittsburgh that UPMC has launched a program in Western Pennsylvania called Stop the Bleed. And so Stop the Bleed is a program where they want to essentially integrate military knowledge that they've learned through combat scenes and through emergency medicine program that you can see. They want to integrate tourniquet packages into every AED and CPR kit in Western Pennsylvania. And so they've taken on a challenge and my son is actually being certified as a trainer now. Their goal is that every high school senior in Western Pennsylvania will be certified to apply tourniquets. And that every AED essentially in Western Pennsylvania will be outfitted with a tourniquet kit. And so UPMC financially sponsored all of the training, the leg and arm dummies, as well as all the tourniquet kits to be distributed. And they're funding all of the training sessions for the certified trainers and those trainers that go out to the communities. And they anticipate that they'll have every high school senior in Western Pennsylvania certified before they graduate in the spring. And so I mentioned this to Jeff Brock, and because I think the township, as we've taken the lead in marks and other things, it'd be interesting to see if it is possible for us to take the lead here, and then with a financial partner, possibly like what Sewing can bring to the table, and then possibly pair that up with Right Pat in some way. So just thought I'd like to, things I learn, I like to bring back, good or bad, so.
Yeah, we'll be happy to form a committee and work with our agency partners.
Okay, great. That's all I have.
I had just a comment on the In Touch. I noticed it came in, somehow I got copied, I forget, I must have picked it up at the Triad Truck this morning. And it came out before the election, and it had the city issues in it. had they notified you when that deadline was, when that was gonna be published?
Yeah.
Okay, so you knew in time if we wanted to put our own issues in?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, they weren't, so that's, it's just a question on my part, because we do partner and we do pay for the.
We were a little late this year in regards to approval of putting, I mean, we met the deadlines for the election, but in regards for the timing, since we're doing 4 a year now, we're in touch, so the timing's off a little bit. So.
Okay, because we did that in July, so that, they had an early deadline for
Actually,
the
we did.
October.
Actually did it right before the deadline in August.
Yeah, okay. Next time we have to put it on earlier.
Yes.
Fiscal officer?
I don't have anything, thank you.
Okay.
And one other thing, there's a Green County meeting,
Monday, Tuesday.
Tuesday night. I will not be able to be there.
Regional plan.
Regional planning, I will not be able to be there. Ed will be there.
I saw the agenda. So do you need me to?
That would be good if you could. That's,
But can Ed vote on behalf of us?
Ed cannot vote.
Okay, so it's Monday evening.
Tuesday
Tuesday
evening.
evening, but November first is when the association meeting is.
No,
No,
the
Green County Regional Plan.
So
it's
that's,
tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night. Yeah, tomorrow night. I cannot go.
oh, okay. Okay, you're talking about regional planning, and I'm thinking of the association meeting.
What
So you're
time?
going to regional.
It's at 7:30,
Okay.
but there's also the city manager thing that, but I've got a conflict with the kids.
Yeah.
But as long as you brought that up, the
Tomorrow at
Green County,
7:30.
Yes, 7:30.
Green County Association meeting will be next Tuesday night, first Tuesday instead of the second Tuesday, since the second Tuesday is election day. Will be in the Xenia Library, hosted by the library, Green County Library and Green Giving. And along with that, the planning for next year will be taking place, so I'd like the board to consider which meeting that, if any, that you'd like to sponsor for next year's meetings. And we traditionally, the past 5 or 6 years, take the January meeting. So just think about it, we have time to put our name in.
Did Sugar Creek find somebody to pair up with them for the December one?
I don't know.
Because that is the most well-attended one, but
Yes.
I honestly think we should think about helping with that one, because since.
And
And
it's
I
in
don't know, I think they
Beavercreek
had some
Township.
sponsors in
It is in
Beavercreek
Beavercreek
Township.
Yeah, it's at Pinchcove in the north. So it's
Yes,
in
Pinchcove
Beavercreek
in the
Township.
north.
this year.
I haven't heard from them, at one point I'd heard, okay, my hat as secretary of the Green County Township Association. I heard from them that they needed people, but I also heard that they've had a number of sponsors that have come ahead forward. And they're sponsors that were not townships or whatever, and they have not, number one, asked for any assistance recently, and they haven't put a fee on it, which they have sometimes in the past. So if it does come up that they do need it, we can bring it back up again at our next meeting. So just a thought to,
And if they decide they're gonna keep it in Beavercreek Township for 2017, then that might be.
yeah, that would be code. That's a good suggestion. So we should bring it up at the meeting next Tuesday. Not of our meeting, the association meeting. Hopefully, we will all be there. Okay.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session under Ohio Revised Code Section 121.22G1 to consider the employment, dismissal, discipline, and compensation of a public employee, and under Ohio Revised Code Section 121.22G3, conferences with an attorney for the public body concerning disputes involving the public body that are subject of pending or imminent court action.
Second.
Mr. Crooks?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Ms. Graf?
Yes. Are we expecting anything to come